the Commandant and the staff to select me to conduct this presentation in front of this distinguished audience. Ladies and gentlemen, this topic is very familiar to you, I'm sure. You have idea about this. And only thing I have done a research to make this presentation. I have got the direction from senior officers. So there may be some of use in this presentation for you. So as you know, the military training develops individuals, groups, formations, so that they can contribute fully to that success. The training should reflect the ethos and doctrine to which the army subscribes. This product of military training should be high skilled, confident and well motivated individuals, units and formations which are effectively commanded, cohesive, tactically and technically proficient, imbued with high morale and will to win. With that, the aim of this presentation is to discuss the importance of local training that grooms officers to meet future challenges. The presentation follows the sequence as flashed on the screen. I am talking about importance and evolution of training, evolution of officers training in particular, and then training imperatives and constraints for officers training, changes to the approach to officers training again, and very briefly the challenges to develop a tactical doctrine in Sri Lanka. And I thought I should include this also, the grooming and the command responsibility, since the forum is of most of you are the commanding officers, you deal with men, so I thought this is important. As you know, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, the importance of training in some professions or walks of life, training can be minor activity, what they consider. To which relatively less time is allocated. You get some other organization, they just have little time for this. But when it comes to military, it's not so. The core business of fighting wars or keeping the peace occupies usually only a small fraction of total time. Even though we had a long period of time, when it comes to generally, the time allocated for war is very limited, time allocated for preparation is more than that. That's what it says, the main preoccupation with preparing for the possibility of real operations. Today the army must meet the challenges of a wider range of threats and a more complex set of operating environments while incorporating new and diverse technology. We discussed, the senior officers yesterday discussed about this comprehensively. So desires traits to be developed through training are techno-orientation, will to win and succeed, mental robustness, mental and physical mobility, will to accept technological and tactical changes, ability to withstand stress and shocks of war, physical fitness, and of course the comradeship. So we see what are the aims of military training in quickly. Excel basic individual and collective military knowledge, skills and confidence. Develop working habits. Establish high-level patriotism and other values. Develop a proper attitude to the military job and military organization. Develop a sense of belonging to the army and to the nation. Achieve a proper psycho-physical preparedness for military service. Develop military discipline and self-discipline. Develop and maintain motivated discipline and physically potent force. This was in fact covered by Commandant during his lecture. Categories of military training, so I don't elaborate on them. And then I am to talk about the command training, so I will just emphasize on it with this slide. The effective training of commanders and staff is the basis of operational success and has to be given a high priority, that is not so long. The potential to command is innate, that is inborn, but it needs to be developed and may require specific training if the individual is to perform effectively, especially within the context of the Army's doctrine. You may have fair knowledge about doctrine now, having been here yesterday and today. That doctrine requires a style of command which promotes decentralized command, freedom and speed of action and initiative. Okay, this is, gentlemen, the evolution of training in Sri Lanka Army for officers. So I will just explain through this slide. From 1949 to 1968, officer cadets and officers were trained only in overseas. And then there were, for your knowledge, then there were Army Recruit Training Depot, that is ARTD, was formed in Yatala on 6 February 1950 to train recruits. And since then, till 1968, we had only foreign training for officer cadets and officers. Early in 1968, the government made a decision to indigenize all officer cadets training as foreign exchange was not available to finance training in the military academies overseas. And therefore, an officer cadet training school named Army Training Center was created in Army Recruit Training Depot. And since then, senior command, JSC and NY courses were conducted there for officers in an ad hoc basis. There was no system as such, but they conducted some courses. And then in 1987, mission-specific training such as FIBUA, CRW package and special platoon command courses were conducted at ATS Madurai in 1987. Sometimes the batches were sent to Yatala to train on these areas. And then, as I said, the JSC senior command MOI continued, but again in ad hoc basis. Then the ATC Madurai was redesignated as the Army Training Center at Yatala was redesignated as Sri Lanka Military Academy in 1992. And then in 1994, young officers course was started, and then in 1998, the same was redesigned to conduct in 3 phases. In ITC, the weapon leg, CRTS, the confidence training leg, and then CRW leg at ATS Madhu. And again, they made a change there. Straight away from the academy, they were sent to undergo these courses in 3 days. And then this was a success, and then still it continues. And after that, we started the Army Commanders Staff College in 1998 at Badlanga, and this also continues at a greater rate. And then, as I said that things are differently taking place, we started a proper JCC, JSC and senior command courses in OSC in 2004. That is that Yatala. And then at the same time, there was a course conducted as potential unit commanders course at ATS Madurai in 2004. And then the course was conducted for some time, limited for 3, and that was shifted to OSC after that, Yatala. And then after that, in 2012, the present training center, that is Officers Career Development Center, was declared open in January 2013, and now this is the organization to conduct the JSC courses, junior command courses, and the senior command courses. After the war, post-war, these three areas, that is YO, JSC, JC, and then staff courses are conducted very effectively, and the results are there. And at the same time, the Army has arranged fair number of higher studies at the renowned universities in Sri Lanka to enable the officers to select officers at senior level to widen their horizons. Okay, gentlemen, I have just extracted this from documents. From a document. This is training system. There is something called training system in many armies. Even though we don't call it in paper, we also have this system, but not fully geared to. So I will just explain you this. Officers up to 3 years as YOs on regimental duty, and then special command and general courses are done. And again, platoon weapons, young officers, battalion support weapons, physical training, driving and maintenance, and junior staff courses are undergone by these officers up to 3 to 4 years in their green lines. That is system. And then officers in technical arms and services do specialized courses like a degree engineering course, while non-technical arms officers carry out training pertaining to their arms or special training. And then after 5 years of service with troops, an officer attends to carry courses such as junior command, post preparing for duties at battalion and brigade levels. Besides, officers are selected for a 2 years advanced study at the civil college in various subjects, example international relations, business administration, economics, law, and on. So this is where you enhance your knowledge in these affairs. And then between 9 to 13 years of service, an officer enters the Defence Services Staff College through a competition where he is trained for a grade 2 staff appointment. This happens in our army. Between 13 to 17 years of service, selected officers attend the senior command course at the College of where they are trained for the command of a battalion. Selected officers with 18 to 23 years of service attend the high command course, where they are trained to command the brigade of whole arms so as to fit them for high command in the army. This facility is not there in our country. And between 25 to 20 years of service, senior officers of the rank of brigadier are selected for a course of 1 year duration at the National Defence College. This course is attended by officers from all three services and from civil department, and involves the study of strategic, economics, scientific, political, and industrial aspects of national defense. So this is how officer is groomed. This is the system to groom an officer. So I will come to this later on, and I am talking about the changes. Okay, changes to the approach to officers training. So here, this slide gives you an idea about what is the future training imperatives. Now, the training objectives are laid down. These are there in our army. And then what I am talking about is that we have to reform them, looking at the future. Reform, revisit. There may be reform. And then we have to rebuild the infrastructure to meet that reform. And then we have to reorganize. The reorganize means ladies and gentlemen, now we, according to the requirement, we conducted courses here and there everywhere. Now that we have to come back to the proper place. As OCDC is prepared, undertaking the officers training, JSC, JCC, and senior command. At the same time, Madhurya must go back to its same place. So this is reorganizing. We are not very far from this. We have to still to go in when we are talking about future training imperatives. So these are the requirements that we may have to look into, shifting from threat-based training to capability-based training. Now, as such, you will not, I'm sure you will not argue with me when I say that there is no threat. There is a threat, but still this is that we will not be able to go ahead with the threat that is in the past, but we have to foresee the future. As such, there is the problem here is there still what we had in the past, but still we better go for to build capability based training now, so that we will be able to be jack of all trades. So when we understand our core competencies, we identify core competencies and core capabilities. Based on that, if we start training, then we will be jack of all trades. Then recognize training institutions to improve long-term training capacity and deliver required capability. So we have to identify which, as I said, this is organizing. And then rebuild infrastructure and training institutions to expand capacity with budgetary constraints. We have lots of constraints, you know that. And then within these budgetary constraints, we have to rebuild the infrastructure to our training. Then induce new training institutions and capabilities imperative to humanitarian and disaster relief cooperation. This is the need of the day to day, you know. And then we may have to start training, induce some training institutions to cater for this requirement. Then blend simulation training and training technology to achieve optimal training effect. We will not be there to, we will not be able to fire artillery rounds or armor in future. So we must go for this training, simulation training. In heavy weapons, for that matter, for infantry also, so that we may have to go for simulation. Other countries in the South Asia, you must have experience. They started in 1990s. The simulation training, but this is not practice. And then seek development to bilateral and multilateral exchanges and interaction with friendly foreign armies. This is there, and actually now we are into that generation. And then raise a national defense quality and army educational tool. What I said is that we have AAC, and then senior command is undertaken care of. And then staff, they have a full-fledged staff force, so we are taking care of that. And then we don't have this requirement. And when it goes, when you understand, there are very selected number of officers undergo this course, but we need this course. When you talk about Bangladesh Army, they raised their country in 1971, and they started their national defense in 1975. So you can think of also. That is how it happened. And they have all written doctrines. And we are still writing. So we need to have this with the support of another nation. And then command senior command post with immediate effect. I know it is to be done here. So in the very offing, probably in the mid next year, they will start the senior command post here. And when I had the discussion with the commandant, he said that they are going to amalgamate the two courses, JSC and JC together from next to export. And after that, the accommodation and the things fast track will be available to conduct senior command post. Then all the senior commanding officer has to undergo that, and thereafter only they will be given the appointment of command. That time will come. And then arrange distance learning courses in the army. Distance learning, because as per the deployment now, we cannot do it. But this is there in civil setup. Everybody is doing distance learning course. Diplomas and other things, everything could be arranged through distance learning, so that this particular organization could be the head of the organization where you give the certificate to anything. For that matter, you can accredit this to universities. Universities maybe KD, so that the young officers from after 5 years service, they will be able to undergo the distance learning course. All matters is the knowledge that you require. What matters is the knowledge. You must have the knowledge. Otherwise, you being there when commanding the company, you will not be able to undergo courses in Kalam. You have to okay, future priorities, gentlemen. Core competencies, like I think you understand the core capabilities, core competencies, that is IS, CRW, FIGUA, all that has to be taken care of. At the same time, we have to prioritize the nation building as the country goes by, and then professional and academic knowledge which lacks from ours, and then civil military cooperation and technological development, and of course the disaster management. Then training constraints, lack of a training doctrine. I will talk about this, but you have some knowledge, there is no training doctrine as such in our country, army. And then lack of advanced technology is another constraint. Mental aptitude officers, now still that is there, now that it is being taken care of, but our officers don't like to undergo course. That is the mental aptitude I am talking about here. So we must inculcate the officers that they must undergo courses to develop or they enhance their horizon. Then only you will be par with the other officers in other countries, definitely. And then financial constraints, as you know, that is there, that going to be more maybe in future. And lack of theoretical and academic knowledge. Now, still this is there. Now, in fact, now the training system, whatever we do, has given some insight to the officers, but still majority with this lack of theoretical and academic knowledge partly. And then lack of infrastructure, that is basically the better infrastructure, and then the technologies also, and lack of a career path for officers. Gentlemen, this must be instilled in officers when you join the when you pass out from the military academy. You must be given, if you go along this path, if you pass this test, you will be given this option like that, so that the people will know their career path exactly what I have to do. Then officers will align themselves with this career path. Most of them, majority of them will go, and others has to be indefinite. Okay, organization and infrastructure, I have just got this slide. Organization is local training we should have, and then overseas training, and military training, and non-military training and education. And this is how local military training is conducted. Army training schools, you know this much. And then regimental training schools are there. We have Armored Corps training schools, school of artillery, and all that. And then services training schools are there, right up here. And then security forces training schools are also allowed, as they have at this level, mobile training schools. And then civil training institutions we have now, lots of opportunities are given for the officers to undergo university, postgraduate diploma, and then the higher studies are arranged by the army, not in KVP in particular. So this is the lineup, local military training, the training should be conducted. Okay, gentlemen, these are the challenges to develop training doctrine. And this is definition of doctrine. I have just got it here. Okay. Challenges, lack of high level direction. Actually, gentlemen, the doctrines are prepared with the high level directions. Especially the MOD or above should involve in that, so that direction is not there, as you know. So that we have to formulate our own one. That can happen to us. And then lack of assistance from resource persons, scholars and experts. In other countries now, when the people are going NDCs and all, they also should be involved in this. But it doesn't happen here. In other countries, they get the support of the resource personnel and scholars and experts to prepare this military doctrine. Based on that only, we will go into the other doctrine, training doctrine, and maybe operational doctrine, all that. But that is not there. And lack of professional knowledge. To be very fair with, we have very limited number of officers who can do this type of thing. It is not there. It is including me. So we need to have some professional do it. Actually now there are 5 officers, including headed by a lieutenant colonel, go to India, hard track to learn about this doctrinal writing, so that they are maybe for duration of more than 3 months, and once they come in, they will have some understanding. And I am not going to say that is the thing that we have, but we would have had some professional do this, selected to do this. And then lack of reports. We have reports, but they are operational experiences. Lessons learned are not written. So we have got them. And then even though these experiences, lessons learned are there, they are not reliable. Sometimes it's contradictory from other company requirement writing. Something is contradictory to other, the same operation. So that is there. Because of that, the art track find difficulties to fathom the things. And then lack of opponents' inputs. Now, what I am trying to say here is, when it comes to other army, they have an enemy. They have created an enemy, and that is own enemy. They are in their opponent. I don't try to give the names of the country, but when you take the countries in the South there, they have created their enemy, and the enemy has the enemy will have the advancement. Their enemy have the advancement of technology and their doctrinal changes and all that. So looking at that, you change your doctrine. But in our case, there is nothing like that. So we can create one, but that is not going to be that effective. And then like our novel experience, one would say, one would argue with me for this, but during the entire operations for last 30 years, we have adopted the basic and the right things. And when you talk about novel things, we came across. I also was in the battlefield for quite some time, and I'm also unable to find out this one. Because if you talk about small group operation, that is there in the world, so that we can't say that we are experts in that. We are not innovative. So likewise, it is very difficult to find out novel things. That is also there. And then lack of constructive criticism. There must be people who criticize things, but that is also a part we are lacking. Not that is constructive criticism. I'm not talking about criticism, but it is constructive criticism has to be there to develop anything. For that matter, not only doctrine, for anything, but that is not there. Okay, gentlemen, now as I said, I am talking about the grooming. Dictionary meaning of grooming is prepare a person for office or occasion. Hold